Hi there, this is Justin. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my favorite function in Tableau, the window sum function. So I have Tableau open here. I've got the Superstore dataset. I think this is the European version. And I'm going to be showing you the power and then some of the utility behind the window sum function, which is an amazing function within Tableau, and you'll see soon why I consider it one of the more powerful ones. It's a function I use almost in every dashboard I build. So to explain the window sum function, I actually want to just start out with building a very simple visualization. So I'm just going to be creating a daily trend graph we're just going to be using orders in this video to explain the function. So this is a daily trend graph that just makes sure we're showing all values. I'm just going to put a constraint on here just because it's covering many years. There's thousands of data points here. So let's just take, for example, the last 180 days. Okay, and here we've got essentially a line graph showing the number of orders created. We have order data up here. We're doing a count distinct of order ID, and we can see here the trend of orders created over time. Also switch this up to discrete, get an idea. Actually see now that we're only going until end of last year. So let's go ahead and just for let's anchor it to December 20, just so we can have enough data points. Okay, let's anchor it to the end of last year. Okay, great. Let's go back to continuous. Okay, that's what I kind of wanted. We've got our daily trend like this. Now, a lot of people look at visualizations like this, right? A daily or a weekly trend. And the issue with this is you can see here that there's so much variance. We're looking here at, I think it shows 180 days. We're looking at 6 months worth of data here. And it's kind of difficult to determine if we're moving, in any one direction or not. There's just too much variance. There's just too much noise. So we have the window sum function, which can help us out with this. It's kind of a more advanced way to look at trends. And when I'm building dashboards for my clients, I'm typically giving them both the standard type view, which is like this, with maybe allowing them to switch between day, week, month, quarter, and the moving window, the window sum version. So I have over here the function saved. So I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to create a calculator field. Then I'll kind of walk you through this calculator field. So I'm pasting it in here. Notice we've got opportunity ID here, which I need to replace. This is going to be order ID. I'm just going to give it a name for now. It's not going to work just yet, and you'll see in a second why. So we're doing moving window, which is kind of another way of calling the windows, using the window sum function. We're talking about a moving window. And don't worry, it's all going to become clear in a few minutes. So MW orders, I'm going to save that. So what exactly is a moving window, right? So if we're now kind of talking about a new term, moving window, which leverages the window sum function, what exactly is a moving window? Well, a moving window it's grouping a number of data points and looking at that grouping as it moves. So you're taking a window of time and you're seeing the movement of that window. You might be familiar with like a moving average. It's the same idea as a moving window, but the window sum function is it's not a moving average. We're looking at a moving sum. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward with this, and hopefully it'll become a bit clearer. Don't think I'm doing the best job right now of explaining this. So what we need, what we're missing here is this piece here, window range, right? Which, as you can see with the bracket, should be a parameter. So I'm going to go ahead here and create a parameter. I'm going to call this window range, and this is going to help me set the size of the window. Okay, so I'm going to create a parameter here so we can have it as, you know, a dynamic selector essentially. So I'm going to give it the following values: value of 1, 7, 14. I can give it 21. I'm going to give it 28. Give it 42, and I'm going to give it 91. Okay. Now, why these values? It will become clear in a second, but hopefully you would have noticed they're all divisible by 7, except 1. So I'm just going to create that parameter. I'm going to show the parameter on the left here. And I'm actually going to make it 28 for now. So I'm going to now create another sheet. I'm going to come over here and just put, well, let's actually duplicate this because it'll be a bit quicker. We have our filter up here already. I just want to get rid of this. Let's drag this down here and make this discrete. Okay, so now we've got all the dates. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add count distinct order ID. I'm going to drag that over here. Okay, cool. So as we can see, just going to double check that. This is another way to kind of visualize this graph, right? We have our count per day, which is good. Now this, if you think about it like this is a moving window of 1 day, right? So each day is its own, each data point is a single day, right? And we have the sum of whatever. So in this case, it's a distinct kind of orders, right? So let's jump back into my moving window orders and let's just go through this for a second, right? So this is kind of made up of 2 pieces. We've got, I'm just going to cut this out, place it over here. So this over here is the window sum function on its own. So if you notice, I can go ahead and remove this and you can see everything's good, right? So just look at the window sum function as it is. So we have window sum. We then need an aggregation. Okay, so in this case, we're aggregating the distinct count of order ID. Okay, that's an aggregation. We then have the comma sign, and we have negative some number, right? In this case, we now have window range is 28. So we have minus 28 plus 1, and then we have 0. This is basically telling us at what point, this last number here is at what point do we want to start. And then the second piece is how big is our window. Okay, so we have minus 28 plus 1 is minus 27. And Tableau kind of starts with 0. So it's a 28 day or 28 data points that we want to have as our window. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, assuming we have data over every day, then we're looking at a moving window of 28 days. Okay, so that's going to become clear in a second. I'm going to demonstrate it to you. So for now, I'm just going to keep this as it is. It's a bit cleaner than the previous, and maybe I'll jump back and explain why I did there. So we're going to save that, and now I'm just going to drag this onto, okay, hold on. I'm going to drag this over here, and I'm going to drag both over here. So we have them side by side. Okay, so let's move this out. Okay, just do some cleanup here. Format, and just one standard number. Okay, so over here, remember we've got our distinct count. Over here, we have our moving window. Okay, so what's happening over here? Okay, let's just go ahead and change this to 7, just because it'll be easier to explain. So right now this is the window sum of a 7-day range. Okay, and remember we're starting at point 0, which is the same day. Okay, so look at this. If I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 46, which happens to be over here. Okay, if we go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 49, which is over here. All right, let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 55, which is over here. So this window, this moving window orders calculated field is taking the dynamic, is taking a window range from the specific date backwards based on this selector, right? So each data point here is the sum, well, in this case, it's a distinct count. Could have done some sales or some other aggregation, but it's the previous X data points. Okay. Now, why is this important? Why is this helpful? So by the way, if I change it to 28, it's now going to be basically 28 days back, right? We proved it with 7, so 28 will work as well. There's no need to check both. Maybe we do 14 just to, you know, push the point home. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 96, right? Which is over there. Now, if we go back to this visualization, right? And let's go ahead and drag moving window orders over here. Okay, so we have them kind of, you know, next to each other in a way. So notice what we see here. Now we see a line graph, but each data point is the previous X days. Okay, in this case, we're looking at the 14-day moving window. We go to 7 days, we're going to have a bit more variance. We go 28 days, it's going to be a lot flatter, right? Because now each data point is the previous 28 days. Now, if we're looking at this, it becomes much easier to see that in the long run, we're actually, there's a bit of a cycle here. We go up and then down, up, and then we're now trending downwards. But in the long term, we're moving up during this time range. So the window sum function is very powerful because it helps us determine the trends without needing to deal with all the variance. That's really the main use case. And as you can see, I like to use the parameter window range here, this parameter, because it makes it dynamic, right? I can easily pick different time periods. Now, obviously, the higher up I go, the more days are included in each data point. And right, it's getting rid of more variance this way, but it also means I need more and more data in order to have enough data points, right? So this is why I started out with 6 months of data, because it then can give us some kind of trend, right? If I obviously reduce this to 90 days, right now we don't have as much of a data to work with, right? So maybe a 7-day window would have enough data points, but if we wanted to get to say a 42-day moving window, we don't have that many data points to kind of work with. So why are we, you know, why the size of the windows always divisible by 7? Now, by the way, before I answer that question, if I do a 1-day moving window, you'll notice it's the same graph, right? Because you know, window range of 1 is just the single day, right? So I like to give the 1 because people do sometimes want to see the daily trend. That's what they're used to. So we can include the 1, but then the rest are going to be divisible by 7. Now, why do we do that? The reason for that is we want to get rid of the weekend effect, right? So I don't know if you can notice here, but there's ups and downs. I bet if I had to check, these drops here are over the weekend, right? And it's very common with many data sets that you have the weekend effect. So if we have, for example, a window range of 28, each data point is 28 days, right? So think about it. It means that we have 4 full weeks in each data point, which means as each data point here has an equal number of Saturdays and Sundays, right? So each data point is equivalent to the next data point, and that data point is equivalent to the following. So it's normalized. Each data point is fair in relation to every other data point. Now, I want you to notice that the graph, goes all the way down here and it kind of tapers off. The reason for that is it's a bit of an irritation with Tableau, but if you think about it, we've got a filter set here, right? So we're telling Tableau we only want to look at a certain number of, certain range of dates, which means is all the way back down here, we actually don't have the 28 days to look backwards, right? So the reason you have this kind of complicated function here is to expand on, is to get rid of this issue, right? What I call removing the tail. So I'm just going to go ahead and update my function, my calculated field. I'm just going to go ahead and slot this in over here. Okay. And if I go through this with you, you'll see I'm saying I've got the double if, the if function here. And it's basically saying if the first data points are greater or equal to minus the date range, right? And I had to obviously play with this a bit in order to get it right. But essentially what's happening is this piece over here is checking if the data points, there's basically enough data points to start counting, right? So we want more than the size of the window. And if it's not, then show blank or just show me the window sum. Okay, so I'll include this function in the description below, so you can copy paste it and then just switch out whatever aggregation you're working with. But if I update this and I click apply now, you'll notice what happened. It removed the tail. Okay, why do I want to do this? Because I can now know for sure that this data point over here, based on my filter, has got a full 28 days. Because previously, each of those last data points, the last 28 data points, they had less and less days as I was moving to the left, which, is sending an incomplete story. It's telling an incomplete story. Now, obviously, I've got this little indicator here because I've hidden those things, but we can just go ahead and hide. So that's it. If we kind of look over here, we can see back here, the first data point on our graph, looking backwards, we had 100 orders in a 28-day period. That would be, with the hover over there, the tooltip. And over here, we're now at 194. So we've almost doubled during this period. So it's up and down, but the trend is moving up and to the right. What I also like to do is to mark labels, and I'll do line ends. And that kind of tells us where we are. Another powerful thing to do is to look at the min and the max. The moment it's a bit messy because we've got multiple instances of 253 as it's showing over here. But it's always good when looking at the moving windows to look at the max points and how far away are we. Because if you think about it, we always want to be improving. So we want to identify when was the peak of our moving window, and then try and get back there and surpass it. So if we want to, let's just play around with this. Let's extend this 365. Right. Okay. We can still see 253 was our peak. And yeah, there was, you can learn a lot from the moving windows. We can see here it was very stable for a long time. Then we all of a sudden took off, dropped all the way back down, went back up. So a lot more variance appeared in this period. And what we might want to do is now shrink the window range to see if there were specific peaks, which forced the trend upwards, that then quickly came down. In this case, we can see if we look at the 7-day, we had a very good period over here, but it wasn't sustainable. Drop back down, we have another peak, then it dropped down even more sharply. Then we have a very steep peak over here. So as an analyst, I would look at this trend. I'd want to understand what happened around here. Is it something we can replicate and maybe maintain? Or is it something which is like an outlier event that's really out of our control? And ideally, you know, we want to be going up and to the right at kind of a steady pace, not having all this variance, because as you can see here, it's not sustainable, and then things start trending downwards, and there's more pressure on the, you know, the different teams. The best shape is if it's going up and to the right at kind of a steady pace. Then, you know, you can kind of learn using the, you know, looking at the moving window that's got that shape, that we're in control and we're able to scale whatever metric we're looking at, if it's revenue or traffic. So that's it. If you have any questions on this topic, please write them in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to them. Thank you for watching.